What happens when a band's dream is hijacked by label expectations? And what happens when that band chooses to leave the higher ranks to start over from the bottom? The Maine arrived oven fresh, with a perfectly commercial sound, a major label deal, good looks in spades, and a genuine connection with their fanbase. But soon, the industry bus would be leaving the emo pop station, and the Maine would have to find their own way back. A band built for the MySpace-era. MySpace, which was mostly remembered as the original social media powerhouse, where you'd cyber-stalk your crush and make your friends fight for your love in a strange social hierarchy of your top 8 followers, was originally a place for underground bands to connect with new fans. To that effect, few utilized the platform better than the Maine. On the northern edge of the Sonoran Desert, amid saguaro cacti and Gila monsters, Tempe teens Garrett Nicholson and Patrick Kirch decided to start a band. This was, after all, Arizona in the early 2000s, a time and place where emo and hardcore bands spawned, imploded, and reformed as new emo and hardcore bands, like a cycle of nature. The boys held auditions, and it's there that they found singer John O'Callaghan, who, with no proper vocal training, was a natural. Alex Ross and Ryan Osterman were recruited as guitarists, and the Maine got straight to work. Stay Up, Get Down, their debut release, sounds like anything other than a self-released collection of songs by a brand new band. Instead, it sounds completely polished. Top-tier production, strong vocals, intricate chord structures, and a rich fullness are all on offer here. It's as if the band threw a dart and hit the bullseye, first try, and Fearless Records took notice. The band signed with them and released the EP The Way We Talk, which sold 50,000 copies. And if that sounds like a lot, the debut studio album Can't Stop, Won't Stop would go on to sell over twice that. No doubt that success was due largely in part of the band's MySpace and Pure Volume pages, the two places where new songs were debuted. And to give context as to why that would be a big deal, in 2007, if you weren't illegally downloading music or buying it outright, these websites were the only way you'd listen to new music, free of charge. And the Maine had an excellent reputation for engaging with fans on MySpace. And that's just the thing about the Maine. They came correct. They sounded good, they looked good, and they were approachable. They made themselves accessible to their fans, and they proved to be genuinely nice guys. They were just sort of perfect on Jump, with a bedroom indie emo rock sound that's best described as cozy. Something you'd fold laundry to or play on your car stereo during a long drive to your favorite getaway. It's the kind of music your partner shows you that's sentimental and hallmarky, but actually pretty cool here and there. And then, boom, that's it. You're a fan of the Maine. Unsurprisingly, they toured with scene giants right away, bands like Good Charlotte and All Time Low. Then, in June of 2009, the Maine left Fearless for label behemoth Warner Brothers Records. Signaling a rebranding and mainstream introduction, Can't Stop, Won't Stop Deluxe Edition released through Warner Brothers. They would wrap up the year playing Warped Tour and touring with Boys Like Girls, making their already dreamlike arrival on the scene even more surreal. And if all of this sounds too simple, too good to be true, what happens next probably won't surprise you. All that glitters is not gold. With Black and White, it's clear the Maine were playing towards their young audience. It's a record that has decent hooks and catchy lyrics, but other than that, there isn't much to shout about. Their style is played out in a safe manner and doesn't stray away, with the conclusion being that the Maine fall into the generic pop rock category. This was the opinion of the website Alter the Press, and honestly, one shared by many fans, as well as the band members themselves. It's because it was evident that joining a major label had turned up the dial on some generic marketability in their songwriting. To longtime fans, the new sound was something fake, disingenuous. Growing Up sounds derivative of The Who's Bob O'Reilly. Inside of You is tailor-made for retail store radio. And The Right Girl sees the band having a complete identity crisis, and that's putting it nicely. Yet the album did what it was supposed to do. It gave the band mass appeal and opened up bigger markets. Black and White won the 2010 AP Magazine Readers Awards for Album of the Year. The Arizona-based band embarked on their first headlining tour, an evening with the Maine, and then on to an international tour. They came back to the US and toured some more with Taking Back Sunday and Augustana. Yep, just more and more and more success for the now too perfect little emo pop pretty boys. But if the fans were feeling disenchanted, that goes tenfold for the band, whose creative differences with the new label drove them towards rebellion. Which is exactly why they started sneaking around in the shadows. The Maine spent many late nights in clandestine recording sessions, recording on their own terms. A secret album was in the works, an album the label didn't know about, and might not like. And yet, it simply had to be this way. Pioneer was presented to Warner Brothers, and they didn't like one thing about it. Not how it sounded, the direction, and certainly not how it was recorded, and refused to release the album. Yet the band held fast in their stubbornness. This was going to be their third album. The label effectively said, "Fine, screw it. Release the damn thing, but it won't be with us." After some strife, the band was allowed an amicable release from the label and granted ownership of their new batch of recordings. On December 6, 2011, they put out Pioneer independently to widespread critical acclaim. Alternative press may have put it best, saying, "This album honestly, truly rocks. Not in a gimmicky pop-punk sort of way, but in an honest-to-God rock and roll way." The title Pioneer proves to be a righteous name for an album that so freely explores new territories. The opening track, Identify, sounds like late 90s movie soundtrack music, which is to say, alt-rock, pop-punk, and fun. Some Days is Good Charlotte meets Young the Giant, and feels very pool party casual. Don't Give Up on Us is the album's champion, the doomed love power ballad that would be at home on an album by the 1975. But just as Warner Brothers had predicted, the album, and the more free-form, eclectic direction, yielded far less sales than the previous record. Yet the guys of the Maine didn't care. To them, it was simply about proving they could do it. They put out a great album all on their own, without the help of supposed experts. "I think the idea that we were in control," John O'Callaghan said in an interview with Adobe, "definitely empowered us to try to explore different realms of music and maybe take a different approach to the entire thing. Fortunately, we were able to put it out, and I think at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing for us." The Maine had found their freedom, but they weren't confident on how long they could last like that. Their DIY album kept the buzz alive, but to make it on their own, they'd have to grab the microphone and command the stage in a bold, new way. But could they do it? When the only way to win the fight is to keep on punching, you keep on punching. So they got right back into the studio and recorded Forever Halloween and released it in 2013. And again, here was a band on their own path, and again, they'd pursue something beyond their own comfort zone. They'd record on analog tape. And this time the mood would be darker, more mature, grittier, and yet just as anthemic and poppy as ever. It's a good thing they kept the momentum going, because the album peaked at 39 on the Billboard Top 200 and is regarded by fans as a masterpiece. It shows that the daringness of the previous record was no gimmick. The band was free, and better off for it. The Maine already had 3 albums in the bag, but Forever Halloween felt like a proper arrival. It was the first on their very own label, 8123, which was named after the address of a parking garage in Tempe where the band used to hang out as kids. But 8123 became much more than that. It became a festival, a platform, a direct-to-fan ecosystem, and an artistic collective. Whereas just 2 albums back, they had struggled to hold on to their identity. Now, in 2013, they had become a strong, self-driving force. The next steps were clear. More touring, this time with Anne Boleyn, Lydia, and From Indian Lakes. More creative promotion, and more new music. Onward and upward. In a rapid-fire succession, the Maine released 2015's American Candy, 2017's Lovely Little Lonely, and 2019's You Are Okay. Fans were eating good, and the Maine had proven 2 things. They really were the perfect little pop-rock band, and they didn't need a major label to become a major staple. The MySpace band had outlasted the platform, but the pandemic had them connecting with fans through the screen in a whole new way. With most people in the world being ordered to stay inside to reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus, the Maine took to writing more new music. XOXO, From Love and Anxiety in Real Time, was released on Photo Finish in collaboration with their own 8123, marking a return to a label, while still remaining independent. The day after XOXO's release, the band live-streamed a full concert, showing that they hadn't forgotten the importance of fostering a close-knit community with fans. In the spirit of capturing the essence of their MySpace-era fan interactions, they launched Pillar, an online fan club for Mainers, which grew into a platform used by bands other than their own. What started as a way for the members of the Maine to keep the fans engaged in their music without the convenience of touring, became a lucrative and brilliant way for the band to keep expanding their brand, while helping to platform other acts in the scene. And in 2023, the band reinvented themselves yet again, this time going the classic route, a self-titled release late into their career, as if to say to fans, "Oh, you thought all of that was the Maine. Actually, this is the Maine." Being the peer-to-peer kings they are, they relaunched a previously abandoned web series called Miserable Youths to showcase the album's production and countdown to its release. The alternative praised the band's self-titled offering and rightly pointed out the Maine has a way of creating a world out of each new era they transition through. They're a rare breed of band that succeeds at seamlessly cultivating an environment for each record that feels as engaging and fresh as the last. An intentional choice, as they've stated the project represents all that the band is and has evolved into over the years. What if you raged against the machine, and you actually won? The Maine had a perfect beginning, a tumultuous middle career, and is shaping up to have a fairy tale ending. They still tour to this day, and they just released a surprise album of rarities called Died, 2008 to 2023, that gives new life to forgotten and unreleased B-sides from their entire career. They left the major label stratosphere when they felt their creativity being muzzled, and as a result, no, they never reached the Imagine Dragons level of commercial success. But they made it through decades of shifting musical tastes while managing to coast near the top. More importantly, they managed to persevere, and as a result, they've enjoyed a fruitful career and a comfortable level of success that they have only themselves and their fans to thank. They took grassroots marketing and social media branding all the way to the top, and when they found themselves moving towards a direction that would separate them from their fan base, they quickly and foolhardily changed course. From there, they never stopped moving, and they kept asking, how can we do even more? As a result, theirs is a story of hope for those upcoming musicians who come after, a guiding light for those who bravely choose to go it alone. Thanks for sticking with us and watching us grow. If you liked this video, please join in on the conversation in the comments, as I try to respond to as many comments as I can. The whole point of the videos is to give you all a space to share your memories and opinions. So, which of the now 10 full-length albums is your favorite? Have you been a fan since the beginning? And knowing the Maine's penchant for bold, big, and new, what direction do you think the band will go in next? To learn what happens when a band does the opposite from what the Maine did when met with mounting expectations, check out our story on The Academy Is.